Welcome again to Joyce on Boxing. Let's talk Oleksandr Usyk versus who? Who deserves a shot at Usyk's belt, his undisputed title, more than anyone else? Well, for me, there are two contenders, and I think two people who have earned their right to have a bite of the undisputed cherry. One of them is Joseph Parker and the other is Agit Kabayel. So I thought we'd have a look and try and decide out of these two, who deserves it more. It's a close run thing, I accept that. But let's have a look at it. Now, of course, I should, as a precursor, say that I don't think either of these will be the next person that Usyk fights, which is very, very disappointing because I'm a massive Usyk fan, but if he takes on Fury for a third time, just for the money, that's just a cash grab. Fury has done absolutely nothing to warrant a third attempt at Usyk. He's been convincingly beaten twice. He bleats and whines and moans in his usual narcissistic, gaslighting way that he was robbed. He wasn't robbed. We all saw those fights. You weren't robbed. 98% of people, and probably 100% of people who know what they're looking at, thought you lost those fights. Why? Because you did, all right? But this video isn't about who is going to face Usyk next. It's about who deserves it the most. So let's start with Agit Kabayel, okay, 6'3", 32-year-old from Germany, who is a former EBU champ. I think he won the EBU title twice, but his career really seemed to be just stagnating until he bumped into Arslanbek Makhmudov in Riyadh. And Makhmudov was the favourite, undefeated in 18 fights. Kabayel is undefeated. He's currently 26 wins with 18 KOs, no draws, no defeats. But Makhmudov was considered to be this, caveman with immense strength and who was just going to sort of smash through the division. Had this sort of infallibility about him. He was completely exposed by Kabayel, who chopped him up with body punches, put him on the floor 3 times and knocked him out in 4 rounds, okay, which was a shocker. It was a shocker to me. I think I picked Makhmudov to win that fight, but because I just thought Agit Kabayel's career is going nowhere, really. Bear in mind, this was, like in 2021, he did a 12-rounder with an ancient Kevin Johnson, who was really just in gatekeeper mode, just collecting paychecks. And Johnson took him the 12-round distance. Now suddenly he turns. He's knocking out people like Pavel Sauer in a round, but then everyone knocks out Pavel Sauer in a round. And suddenly he bumps into Makhmudov. This is in Riyadh. This was the first of 3 consecutive fights in Riyadh. And he chops him up in 4 rounds. Amazing performance by Kabayel. But was it an aberration? Well, his next fight, the following year, which was 2024, was against another undefeated fighter, 24-0 Frank Sanchez, who, again, was considered to be a tremendous technician, very good fighter, could do a bit of everything, had some nice pop to his punches, but really, the old skills pay the bills thing applied to this guy. And he did come in with a slight, I think he had a knee injury. His knee was strapped up and he may have aggravated that injury. But whatever the case, Kabayel battered him, put him on the floor twice in the 7th round and stopped him in 7 rounds. So that is 2 fighters who were considered to probably be the winners over Kabayel, who undefeated fighters who Kabayel had stopped, not just beaten, but stopped, convincingly beaten. And then in 2025, back in February this year, he fought Zhilei Zhang. Zhilei Zhang is considered to be, very, very poor gas tank, but a great puncher. And sure enough, he had Kabayel down in round 5, but that was the only success he had because Kabayel smashed him up to the body and, in fact, KO'd him with a body punch in the 6th round. So those 3 victories are fantastic wins. They really are. I mean, Zhang was, 40, 41, whatever he is, but he'd beaten what was left of Wilder. He'd given Filip Hrgović a very close fight. He'd lost to Joseph Parker, a close one, although we had Parker on the floor twice. We'll come to Parker in a moment. So it was an excellent, first time he's ever been stopped. And it took It was a 12-round fight, and it only took Agit Kabayel 6 rounds to knock out Zhilei Zhang with body punches. I have to say that Kabayel is probably the best heavyweight body puncher I've seen for I don't even know how long. I mean, I'm talking probably decades rather than years. He's a tremendous body puncher. And, you know, when you consider the art of punching to the body, which is often overlooked and forgotten unfairly so, it's very rare that heavyweights consistently go to the body and go to the body with such success. Okay? So whoever he faces is going to have to really plan for that. Their tactics are going to have to be, how am I going to avoid this body attack? Because when Kabayel puts it on you, you feel it. Oh, yes, you do. So Kabayel versus Usyk, what is the one thing some people still insist Usyk is vulnerable to? Body punches. So Kabayel against Usyk, an interesting matchup, very aggressive fighter. Kabayel does get hit, but very cavalier, very, very confident fighter. I'd love to see him in with Usyk. I think it would be a great matchup, and he would ask questions of Usyk, perhaps some questions that Usyk hasn't previously been asked. Okay. Well, let's move on to Joseph Parker. 36 wins, 24 KOs, 3 defeats, no draws. He's lost decisions to Anthony Joshua in a rather dull fight. He then lost to Joseph Parker, although he did have Parker rocking and reeling in the dying seconds of the 12th round. Was it 10 round or 12 rounder? I think it was a 12 rounder. He had been on the floor himself in the second round and in the 9th. The second round, it seemed to me that White fell in and headbutted him, not intentionally. And it took him a few rounds, Parker, to recover from that. But then he did get floored in the 9th. But my God, he was putting it on White at the end of that fight. And in fact, the scorecards were relatively close. Had it been an old 15-rounder, I think Parker might have stopped White. But of course, it was only a 12-rounder. And the only stoppage defeat of his career was against Joyce in September of 2022. When he was stopped in the 11th round. That was a hellacious left hook. But Joyce was undefeated at the time and was looking very, very impressive. He would come apart at the seams shortly afterwards. Zhilei Zhang, who Parker would go on to beat, would stop Joyce twice. But then, after the Joyce fight, Joseph came back. He had a nice little 10-round points win over Jack Massey, who was really just a cruiserweight, but a good European-level cruiserweight. Simon Keane, he stopped him in 3. Keane only had 1 defeat on his record, but it was no match for Parker. He then fought Deontay Wilder and won most of the rounds against Wilder. I mean, I struggled to give Wilder a round in that fight. That was a 12-rounder. And he then, Wilder didn't really turn up. But good win, nevertheless, for Parker. A lot of people thought Wilder might beat him. I thought Wilder might catch him, but no, didn't come close to it. Then he fought Zhilei Zhang, won a majority decision. He was on the floor twice. And then there was that sort of minor, very strange, sort of farcical fight with Martin Bakole. Bakole took the fight as a substitute at 36 hours' notice, flew in from the Congo, didn't even have his own gloves and shorts to wear, and got done in 2 rounds. Now, it is noticeable that he shook Parker just prior to getting knocked out himself. And Zhang also had Parker down twice. I think it was around 3 and 8. He had Parker on the floor. So Parker's punch resistance there is a slight question mark over it for me, as much as I like Joe Parker. And I agree that both he and Kabayel deserve a shot at Usyk. I would worry a bit about Parker. He's 33 years old now. He's a big lad, 6'4". He's filled out. He's got Andy Lee in his corner, which is always a bonus. They seem to have really gelled together very well. There's a real sort of synergy between them. And if anyone can come up with a very good game plan to beat Usyk, it's probably Andy Lee. There aren't many people who can do that, I think. But Andy Lee is as Tyson Fury said, Andy Lee is a teacher. He's not just a trainer. And I think I know what he means by that. I've been very, very impressed with Andy Lee. and it's definitely a feather in Parker's cap to have Lee in his corner. So who deserves the shot at Usyk more? It's so wafer thin. The differences, margin of difference is so slight. But as much as I love Joe Parker and I have great respect for him, I would rather see Agit Kabayel fight Usyk, because I do think that he is fresher. He's slightly younger. He's got less miles on the clock. He's extremely confident. And he has that heavy-handed body attack that I want to see Usyk tested on that body attack. But if Joe Parker gets the gig, no problem. I'm not saying Joe shouldn't fight him either, but to me, Kabayel is a more interesting fight. Now, will it happen? No, it will not, because Kabayel is extremely high risk and low reward. If Kabayel wins a belt, it will be because the belts have gone up in the air and they've all become vacant, and he'll win a vacant belt, and then he might well end up dominating the division. It wouldn't surprise me entirely. He's not old at 32 for a heavyweight. Joe Parker, more miles on the clock. Probably what will happen, I think, is Usyk will avoid him as well, go for the big payday again. Usyk Fury 3. Do we really need it? Surely we don't. I wish he'd just stay retired, Tyson Fury. But anyway, Parker probably will wait for the WBO title to be vacated. He's already the interim belt holder with the WBO, which we don't need because Usyk is active. We don't need an interim champ, but he's got the belt. So he'll probably be upgraded. He might not even have to fight for it if Usyk gives up the belt. Parker will take the full fat strap. He's held that WBO title before. He won it in New Zealand or Australia. He beat Dandy Ruiz, very close fight. Some people thought Ruiz won, some people thought Parker won, and then he lost it to Joshua. And he was, of course, supposed to fight for the IBF belt when Daniel Dubois pulled out at the 11th hour with an illness. So I think that's the most likely scenario, is that Parker will get upgraded to WBO champ and Kabayel will have to wait for a vacant belt. But make no mistake about it, both these guys deserve a shot at Usyk, infinitely more than Tyson Fury or anyone else. Forget about Moses Atama against Usyk. What the fuck is Turkey talking about? A novice against Usyk. Can he win? Well, anything's possible. Atama's a talented kid, but what the fuck what's he possibly done to deserve a fight with Oleksandr Usyk? Who's his best opponent, Atama? Dempsey McKean? Well, it's got to be Dempsey McKean, isn't it? What, a 46-year-old Vac? Come on, man. It's ridiculous. Anyway, what do you think? Who would you rather see, Parker or Kabayel fighting Usyk next? Who do you think deserves it the most? And who would you rather see? Maybe you think the guy that deserves it the most is the guy who should get the gig. Or maybe you think, well, he deserves it, but I'd really like to see this other guy fight him. Parker versus Kabayel. Who do you think deserves the Usyk fight more? Some people have said they might fight each other, which would be an excellent matchup, but I would actually pick Kabayel to win that by knockout. But I've got a feeling they'll hang around. They'll avoid each other and wait to pick up the pieces of the belts when they become vacant. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinion is. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you like this video. And yeah, much appreciated. I always appreciate your support. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.